Hey everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Guys, the sun is shining this morning. I'm feeling great. How is everyone? I mean, first and foremost, before we even get into it, you might notice my t-shirt if you're watching this visually on YouTube. If you're not, I'll describe it for you. It is a lavenderous moment, and it has a quote that I said in a past podcast episode, which reads, "I just want to be hot and mind my own business." These are now available for purchase over on bowbybrad.com. There is a red version, like with the writing in red. Feel free to check those out if you would like to, and that's all I've got to say on that. But hello everyone. Sorry that it started like that, but I just thought I may as well get that out of the way. How are we all doing? I've had a wonderful week. I feel great. I'm just still riding high on good vibes. I really am. Sorry, I know that's kind of unrelatable content sometimes, but I also think we should take pride in when we're feeling good, because I think more often than not, not that it's frowned upon, but it does feel a little bit frowned upon for someone to just be doing well, you know? Which I think is a bit of a weird thing. Like, us as a society need people to all be like going through some shit, you know? But I'm doing well and I'm sorry about it. But yeah, guys, today I wanted to start off this episode with telling you about some dreams that I've had recently. I've got two. One is really short, one is longer and much crazier. So I thought we'd start off the episode with this. And then for the most part of today's episode, we are going to be, well, I'm going to be answering a load of questions. More thought-provoking questions. Like, this is not going to be like top or bottom, OnlyFans, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not going to be any of that. Because I would prefer just a thoughtful chat on here. This doesn't really seem the place to be talking about those kind of things. So, yeah, I love the dreams. Did I come up with a name for this segment? No, someone else did. Someone else came up with this idea, and I can't remember who it was, but they commented it on the last episode that I did, Dreams, and someone said the title for this segment should be Wet Dreams. Which I think is iconic, right? Not that these are wet dreams, but I just think it makes sense, like Morning Glory, wet dreams, you know? Fun. Anyway, let's get into some wet dreams. Okay, so the first one, all I've wrote is, because if you didn't know, I like to write down all my dreams so I remember them, right? So the first one I've got is busy car park, right? That's the setting. Busy car park. Two people kept going missing. This one's very vague, I will say. Then it says, constant movement from the cars, randomly went round the corner to a shop, I think to look for the missing people, but got sidetracked shopping. And that's the end of that. Now, I do think, from what I remember of this dream, which is not much, have you guys ever played that game on like your phone where it's like you have to move the cars or whatever for one car to come out? Does that make sense? I don't know if I've just described that very well, but hopefully it does. Like, you have to like move them all to like make space, and there's like only one little exit part, and you have to like move all the cars, and then the car that you've got is able to go all the way out, right? This is how I saw this dream in my head. It was very much like the cars were constantly moving. Don't know where these two people came from that kept going missing. Don't even know who they are. Have no characteristics, nothing. And then classic me got sidetracked by shopping. If that ain't the truth, honestly. But yeah, so that was just like the first one. I don't remember noting that one down or remember having it. So it is what it is. The next one, guys, it's crazy, and it involves Britney Spears. Okay? It reads, Britney Spears came to my college. So I'm back in college in this period of time. Had a new movie coming out. So Britney's no longer doing music. She's pursuing acting, right? Crossroads Boots, okay? She wanted to... and she wanted to feature it. Like, she wanted to show the movie at my college for some reason. God, that's a nice way of putting it. Like, I was half asleep when I wrote this. She wanted to feature it. Wow. She did like a lunchtime assembly thing and spoke to everyone in the school. Very off, making jokes about the conservatorship that didn't land. Gag. She's taking the piss out of her own conservatorship. Someone proposed to her there and then, and she accepted. Don't know who this person is. Didn't mention that. But crazy. Oh my God, guys, I will say, I hope Britney's doing well. But I've had to unfollow her on Instagram because I don't need to see her prancing and dancing and twirling around more and more and more, right? It just got a bit much for me, but I hope she's doing well, right? I really do. I hope she's safe and I hope she's doing well, okay? But anyway, moving on. She then singles me out and takes me backstage, tells me she wants me to film the movie for her, but I thought she'd already... Oh, no, I think I meant like she wanted me to film like just like the assembly, like when she was showing the movie or something. Like she wanted me to film the premiere of the movie in the assembly, right? I think that's what I meant. Gave me a top hat to wear. What? And I know me, I do not look good in a top hat, right? Was flirting with me. Britney Spears wanted a slice of the Brad. Said something in another language that meant, I've never seen such beauty. Oh my God, Britney. You shouldn't have. Oh, Britney wanted a slice. I was like, I can't wait to go home and tell my mum what Britney Spears just said to me. Then it was made apparent that I would be in the splash zone. What? Now this is an immersive experience, people. This is an interactive experience. This fucking splash zone. What's splashing? What's water, you know? So she gave me shampoo and shower gel to shower off after. Then I went and found a seat in the cafeteria and the movie started. And I finished this by saying, it was bad. I'd like to know, because you guys know me, I like to Google these things. Dream about a busy car park. Meaning. Oh, guys, I love this. I fucking love searching these things. Listen to this here. Dream interpretation / meaning of parking lots in dreams. It says, as a place where cars are parked, the parking lot can symbolize a transition in your career as you explore new ways of moving forward. In a sense, your forward movement is on hold. Cars represent motivation and how you are moving forward. So if we're talking about my dream, now don't get me wrong, we had the whole missing people in there. Missing people in dreams. Okay, guys. So obviously, like, for example, we've just spoken about my car park, right? And how that means that there's going to be some sort of transition in my career, or I'm trying to find new ways of moving forward, whatever, right? Which I could definitely see that being true. I could definitely get on board with that. Then this says, in terms of like the missing people, because that was like a random thing in there, it says, for many of us, such dreams are presenting challenging situations in the future, like dreams about people going missing, right? This is because dreaming of missing people is associated with the fact that in daily life, something will disappear from your environment. Well, what's that going to be? But the fact that something disappears from your life does not always imply something bad. Many times what disappears from our lives can be situations of toxicity, depression, or anguish. So do not see dreams of missing persons as a bad omen. Guys, this is so much fun. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, what the hell? I had a dream about a car park and some missing kids. And here we are. It's all about my career and something going missing. What could possibly be going missing? Bad vibes? Maybe the bad vibes have gone, because I do feel lighter these days, and I've mentioned this before, haven't I? I want to research what dreams about celebrities means. Oh my God, guys, listen to this. It says, when a celebrity appears in your dreams, their presence can signify the qualities that you aspire towards for yourself. So guys, I want to be Britney Spears. Maybe that's where I'm going here. Do you know what, guys? If we're connecting all these things, because both those dreams happened like a similar time frame, maybe all this is saying to me that I'm going to be changing the way of moving forward, and that means I'm going to be going into a music career. right? Maybe I'm going to be starting to release music. It can be about your opinions, feelings, or thoughts. It can also probably mean that you desire to be appreciated. You want to feel worthy, be taken seriously, and be cherished by people around you. Oh my fucking God, guys, this is so much fun. I love this segment of the pod. Wet dreams, man. Wet dreams boots. But anyway, yeah. So that's just what those dreams potentially mean, right? I'm changing my path somehow. I'm finding new ways of moving forward. Something is going to go missing from my life, whether that's good or bad, right? And I have aspirations to the likeness of Britney Spears. I think that's great. It's a wonderful thing. It's a real wonderful thing. Anyway, guys, like I've said before, if you have any dreams that you recall, please do email them in at hello.morningglorypod@gmail.com, because I would love to read some of your guys' dreams out and research them and diagnose you myself. Okay, so by all means. Anyway, let's get into some questiones, right? So the first one we've got is thoughts on the concept of the gaydar and the perceived queerness of people. So I think, obviously, I do believe in intuition, right? Now, I will say I'm pretty sure my gaydar is broken. I'm not very good. I'm not very good at knowing when someone's gay or interested or any of those things. So, in that sense, I do believe in a gaydar because I also do just think, like, people use gaydar as like just a way of saying, like, I know you're gay because you're kind of presenting a little bit like stereotypically gay. Like, I don't think realistically any of us really have a gaydar, right? Like, we don't actually have a thing that's like, although no, sometimes actually, do you know what I think it is? Maybe we do have a gaydar, and it's because obviously we live our lives as like a gay person or whatever else, right? So then the qualities that we see in ourselves and like the qualities that we present in ourselves, and like obviously us being inside our own brains, like the way we think and whatever, I'm sure if you then see someone else acting in a similar way, or like, guys, I will say sometimes I can tell just by the way some people walk, right? Because I think as a gay person, we're sometimes a bit too self-aware in those kind of things, right? So I actually do think that maybe because we obviously are so close to ourselves and like we're so hyper aware of how other people are perceiving us, and like we overanalyze everything to do with ourselves, because obviously in some situations we have to be like that, right, for our own safety and whatever else. I do think the gaydar kind of just comes down to us being able to see parts of ourselves or things that we've analysed within ourselves in other people, and then we're just like, you've got to be gay, because I mean, I'm gay and I do a similar thing, so you've got to be gay, you know? That's how I perceive gaydar. Now, don't get me wrong, my gaydar is pretty much off at this point, because I do think it's getting progressively harder for me to know this. And also, even if I perceive someone as, you know, being a little fruity, that doesn't mean anything to me. Doesn't mean that I'm going to feel like I can like go up to that person and be like, hey, what? Like, no. Anyway, moving on. Next person says, what would you never share online? Ooh, now, realistically, guys, at this point in time, I'm kind of oversharing, aren't I? Especially on this podcast. I feel like I've shared a lot in this podcast that I didn't necessarily think I'd be sharing online. I mean, realistically, the only thing I can kind of think of is I probably, at this point in time, would not share any future relationships. Like, I don't think I would be someone, at least like maybe for like the first year, 2 years, maybe. I've just seen so many times how gay people can, well, basically just gay people hate to see other gay people happy. Right? So I don't think there'd be a world in which I'm going to be getting into a relationship, posting them on my story with them like being tagged. Like, I might do a little picture here and there, like a little side profile or something cute that like alludes to something, but I'm never gonna like do a picture of us both with them being tagged and able to be looked at and dissected and degraded and contacted, you know? I just think the way I've seen like the public's perception of relationships kind of like fuck over a relationship, I just don't really want that for myself. So that's kind of the only thing I can imagine that I wouldn't want to share online, just because I know what gay people can be like. And I mean, I'm not innocent in that. Like, I'm sure I've like seen someone get into a relationship and I've instantly like not hated them for it, but like been kind of resentful. But I think that does come from probably my own insecurities and whatnot, like, and the fact that I've been single for so long, you know, not out of like hatred for them or whatever. Like, I'm happy for you, but at the same time, I'm annoyed because I'm not in the same place, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't think I don't see a world in which I'll be like that. Like, I'm not going to be keeping that person a secret by any means. Like, I will obviously make it very known to anybody that like I come in contact with online or whatever. Like, I will make it known that I'm in a relationship, because I think part of it sometimes, like, if people don't do that, sometimes I do think like, are you trying to appear still single because you want people to still like want to pursue you and stuff, which I think can be a bit of a slippery slope. And also, guys, there is this whole thing about like when people get into a relationship, people like unfollow you. People don't want anything to do with you anymore, because there's not that level of like, there's not that thought of you potentially being now with that person. Do you know what I mean? Like, some people see a single person and they're like, there's like a thing there, like a desirability of like, I want them to see me because then maybe they'll fall in love with me, right? And obviously, like, when someone gets into a relationship, there's like, that's kind of gone. So then people kind of lose interest. So I think it is a bit weird when people choose to keep a relationship private, in like the way of like just not even saying that they're like going by single still, you know? Like, I'd never do that. I'd make it very clear that I'm in a relationship, but they won't be on there and like be tagged and whatnot, you know? And I probably wouldn't share their name, but yeah. So who knows? Maybe I'm not single now, and maybe I'm lying to you all. Imagine. Anyway, moving on. Next question we've got: which movies show real homosexual relationships? Oh, that's hard. That's a hard question, because part of me thinks, especially maybe for like an older perspective or more of a traditional perspective, like, not, this is not the most progressive movie by any means, but I'm sure these kind of relationships still exist in certain parts of the world. I do think Brokeback Mountain, I think that movie does a very good job of showing the complexities and the difficulties of trying to be in a gay relationship. Because realistically, neither of these men are like anyone of like status. Like, this is not like a prince. Like, for example, like Red, White and Royal Blue. Obviously, that movie showed difficulties of them trying to be together and whatnot. But those issues were so far removed from like anything that the normal person would experience. Like, the normal person is not a royal, is not the president's son, you know? Whereas like in Brokeback Mountain, these are just two normal men that obviously lived through a really difficult time. And I feel like that movie shows kind of like the reality that I'm sure a lot of gay people faced back in those times. Now, I can't really think off the top of my head any more recent ones, because I don't think I've really watched many gay movies. Oh, I will say, but this is another one. This is another one of those like dated stories. I feel like we've not really had any media, not that I can think of off the top of my head, that's like based in modern present day, that depicts like the real trials and tribulations of a gay relationship. Whereas I feel like, for example, like a TV example, Fellow Travelers, hello, that show is crazy, but is once again like a dated thing and just shows how hard it was for gay people back in the day. Realistically, not every gay relationship is like those things. Like, some gay relationships are easier these days, obviously, because we have progressed somewhat. But I do think sometimes now, because we're trying to be more progressive in the media, I do think that sometimes the media that is presented doesn't accurately represent the trials and tribulations. But I also think that's okay. I don't think every single gay thing needs to show the trauma, the difficulty, all this kind of thing. Like, sometimes I think it's okay for us to just have a really cute gay movie that depicts gay people being able to be in love and not being able to be in love and it not be a problem. Because I do think sometimes it gets a bit exhausting when all we have is gay people and gay relationships being perceived in such a traumatic and difficult way. It pisses me off. Right? But yeah, so I don't know. If you guys have any movies that you think are based more in a modern day that show like the reality of a gay relationship, then please let me know. Because maybe I've not seen them. Oh God, this one's a deep one. What makes life worth living for you? That is so deep, isn't it? I'm going to take this question in a way of like what I want out of life for myself, right? And what, like, if I died tomorrow, what would I want to have achieved in life, kind of thing, right? I'm not sure if this is how that person intended it to like come across, but that's just how I'm taking it, okay? And I think in general, for me in life, in terms of career, I'll talk about career first. I think I was kind of put on this earth or whatever, not to get ooky spooky and deep, but I think my purpose for the most part in being here, because I do believe we've all got some sort of purpose for being here, and I think mine is to try and like entertain or bring happiness and bring joy and try and spread a bit of positivity. Because don't get me wrong, like there's some days where I do just want to come on here and chat about really depressing things, which I'm sure I have done. Like I think I've spoken about some difficult topics on this podcast. But for the most part, I do try and find positivity in things, and I do just want to create a safe space or a space in general that people feel like they can just get away from some of the shit, because I think most of the time in life we're surrounded by negativity, and like whether that's in the news, on social media, all these things which I've mentioned before, I think it's very easy for us all to get a bit caught up in the bullshit. And I do see my career and what I can do with a platform that I've been given. I try and use it to try and help people feel better about their day. And I do receive a lot of messages from you guys and whatnot. And a lot of you do say that I successfully do that. So that makes me happy and that does make me feel fulfilled. So I guess in terms of my career, that's kind of like why I feel like I'm here. In terms of life in general and what makes life worth living for me is the idea of like being able to be loved and love someone. This is sounding so soppy and I'm so sorry, but this is just the truth. Like, I really value relationships in both like a platonic sense, a friendship sense, and like family, whatever, like all kinds of relationships. I very much value people in my life, but at the same time, I'll be very like straight to the point with people in my life, because I feel like I value authentic relationships, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want friendships that are toxic or pointless. Like, I value the people in my life because I feel like these people are bringing something to my life, you know? So for me, like, in terms of what life means to me, or like what makes life worth living, it's just like being able to connect with people, I guess, in general, whether that's through my career or just through me as a person. I think connecting with people is a beautiful thing. God, that got deep there for a sec, didn't it? Okay, on a lighter note, someone's asked, how does it feel to be an uncle? I'm a new auntie. Well, congratulations on being a new auntie. Being an uncle is beautiful. I love being an uncle. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And this kind of does relate quite well to the last question that person asked. In terms of like me valuing relationships and stuff, like I love being an uncle, and I think I'm a great uncle, and I think in general I'll be a great father whenever I have kids, if I have kids. But as much as I do love being an uncle, I will say the more my sisters pop out children, I'm almost a little bit more inclined to not have children of my own because I do love being an uncle and spending time with them, but I also love not having to put up with the bullshit of actually being a parent, and I'm able to just like give them back, you know? It's so interesting seeing a child, like the way like a child develop, you know, because basically one of my nieces is going to be a year old maybe by the time this comes out, and she's just now figuring out how to walk and how to stand up and whatnot. Like it's just so beautiful to see how a human literally starts and then get going. Like it's so fascinating to see that. I just love, I love it. I just love being an uncle. I can't even explain it really, and I feel like I've not really explained it at all. I just like it. So yeah, but I mean, a great thing is being able to just like give the child back. That is a wonder. But yeah. What, if any, sort of changes would you like to see in the gay community? I think kind of like hitting on maybe the episode that I did a few weeks ago, kind of like how I feel like within the gay community, it's quite a vapid space, and there's not much in the way of connection. I wouldn't mind seeing more people valuing that. And the thing is, this is not me telling people how to live, of course, like do whatever feels right to you. But I wouldn't mind us being able to actually have a conversation with each other and it not have to turn into like a sexual thing, which obviously I've spoke about before. I also would love for us to, just in general, this is not even just the gays. I think this is just in general how everything is perceived. I would love for us to be able to go back to seeing the naked body in not just a sexual way. This is a conversation that I have a lot with myself because of the kind of content that I put out on Instagram. But I see the body and the naked body in such an artistic and beautiful way, and it gets so frustrating sometimes when it's seen in just a raw sexual way. It just gets a bit irritating. Like, I obviously put out a lot of like saucier stuff, but generally for the most part, like, yes, one, I feel sexy and that's great, but if we're talking a little bit deeper, I think art and photography of like the naked body, like, why do you think I've got this above my fucking bed? I think it's beautiful. You know, like I draw a lot of nudes. I just think in general, in life and us as humans, I would love for us to start and see the naked body as more than just a tool and a sexual thing. It's like yes, it's sexual, but it's also beautiful, you know? And like we're all also in general, like we're all born naked, not to reference RuPaul here, but we're all born naked. Like why is being naked and showing skin so frowned upon, or like it has such a stigma? That's one thing I'd just like to see in general, and that's not just in the gay community, that's just in life. So yeah, let's sort that out, please. But anyway, oh my god, this one's getting real deep now. What do you think happens when we die? Oh god, what do I think happens when we die? Realistically, guys, I do think we might get reincarnated in some way. Like, I do find it hard to believe that I am on this earth for the first time as this person. I think there's a question that's going to go on to this later, but I can just hit on it now. I think it's crazy in general that we're here. Like, not to get all existential, I think that's the word, but like the thought of like my being just kind of being plucked out of like wherever, like the fucking cosmos, and put into this baby, and now I'm named Brad and I'm in my own head. Like, it's all a bit much for me. Like, I find it fascinating to think that like I'm in my own head and I have my own thoughts and my own feelings and whatever, and there's so much that happens in here, but like I'm never gonna realistically know what it feels like or what it's like in general to be in someone else's head and think the way they think and what they think about me and like the way I'm being perceived and stuff. Like, you're never gonna know exactly. Like, obviously, like these people can obviously tell you, but you're never going to know what it's like to be in their body. That is so fascinating and so interesting to me, and it's such an interesting concept. So in terms of like when we die, I'd like to think that it's not just black. and we just stop existing, because what a crazy and sad thought it is to think that as soon as we die, it's just black and you just don't exist anymore. It kind of scares me and it kind of makes me want to cry. But like, I'd like to think that our soul leaves and maybe goes back up to wherever it was plucked from before, and maybe we get put back into something else. I'm not saying that's necessarily a human. I do believe that we might get put into animals or plants or whatever else. Like, I don't know. I think it's a wonderful thought. Not that I think it's necessarily true. I just think it's something nice to believe in, because I'd rather not just think about dying and then as just ceasing to exist and it's just like eternal darkness. I think that's quite a sad thought, isn't it? And as much as I'm not spiritual, I'm not religious, right? You guys know this by now. I'm quite realist in terms of like life itself and whatnot. I don't believe in necessarily a higher power or whatever. I believe in karma. I will say that. That's one thing I do believe in. But and I guess that is somewhat spiritual within itself. But yeah, I don't know. I think just to give myself a bit of sanity and to not like spiral about death, I think I do tend to think about us maybe doing something or going on to be someone else or something else after we die. But it is kind of crazy how you're never the same person twice if that is the case. We've heard of like the stories of like when people remember past lives. Now, part of me just think, is that bullshit? Like, are you bullshitting? But like a child, like I've definitely seen in the news, like a child being able to recall situations that happened in a past life, which that child would never know. You know, I do think that is ooky, spooky, and scary, but I think it's so fucking interesting, right? So who knows? I just like to think that there's something else out there. Now, I don't believe that we're going to float up into the sky and go to heaven and walk through those gates, or vice versa. I don't believe we're going to go to hell. I think it's all a bit much for me. I do think, and maybe this is heaven, right? In a more general sense, I do believe we maybe do go somewhere and maybe just wait to be selected again. I'm sounding so spiritual and I really didn't think this of me, but here I am. I do just believe like there's some sort of waiting room. I feel like if I'm gonna put like a picture to what I'm seeing in my head, I envision some sort of waiting room, and like our souls or our beings are just kind of like sat there, and then you're kind of waiting to be selected or brought into the room. You know, I just find it very difficult to believe that, like, I don't know, guys, I'm kind of tripping out. I just find it hard to believe that we just exist and, like, just the way our brain's made. Like, guys, let's think about our bodies for a sec. Like, how magic is the body? And like the magic stuff that it fucking does. Are you kidding? Like how it's able to heal itself. Obviously, yes, it takes a long time. And obviously there's only certain stuff you can heal yourself from. But like, for example, I was just looking at my calluses on my fingers. Obviously, repeated like injury to like my hands, obviously from like doing weights and stuff at the gym. But like my body is able to like regenerate and use its cells and stuff to like heal it. Like the fuck? And like my tattoos, for example, like repeated injury, like yes, it's peeling, but like that's my skin actively trying to heal itself. Fucking crazy, man. And I just find it hard to believe that like that's just how it is. Like there's got to be something else, you know, like a bit of like a magic little sprinkle of something. I don't fucking know, guys. This has really gone off on a tangent, so I apologize. But yeah, all in all, to bring it back to the question, I don't know what happens when we die, but I would like to think that we go somewhere and do something and it's not just eternal darkness. Okay? Because that's really sad to think about. But yeah, have you experienced a real panic/anxiety attack? I wouldn't ever say I had like a anxiety attack. Now, I do think I used to be more than I am now, a bit more of an anxious person. Like I said, not so much now, but I also would never categorize myself as being like suffering from anxiety, right? I just think especially in uni, in that kind of environment. And I think I've spoke about this before, but I am quite a perfectionist, and that's something that I felt very deeply, especially in uni, to the point where I did my dissertation on perfectionism. I think along with my perfectionism does come some sort of anxiety with the prospect of not appearing perfect or not doing a perfect job or failing, right? I definitely felt that a lot in uni. Not so much nowadays, because I'm kind of in a space where I'm not being judged that much by other people other than like randomers online, but I can kind of block that out. Who cares? Because they don't really know me and they don't know my intentions. But I'm not in a space where I'm actively on a day-to-day basis being judged on my performance physically, you know? So I definitely don't feel the same way I did. But in uni, for example, there was a few times where I had a bit of a meltdown, and it was kind of coming from like an anxious place or a place of me not feeling like I was going to appear perfect or what I perceive to be my best, you know? And for example, like, this was a really stupid example, but this is just an example that I kind of give to people when I talk about these kind of things, is one year, I'm pretty sure it was my third year, generally for Christmas, at the uni that I went to, we'd all get into like fancy dress, like Christmas drag, and go to uni in a costume. And me and was it Christmas or was it Halloween? I'm not sure, it was one of them. I think it was Christmas. It was Christmas in third year, because in second year, me and my friend went as a snowflake and we looked really good. And then in third year, I can't remember what we were going to do, but we didn't really put much effort into the costume. No, I'm pretty sure I was trying to put effort into the costume, but my friend's much more laid back, and like he didn't really help in any way in terms of that. Like we didn't really have an idea. Like he's happy doing a bit more of like a bare minimum, whereas I'm a kind of person that likes to go all out. I mean, if you've seen my main channel stuff, I fucking buy costumes for little videos, you know? So I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. But yeah, so we didn't have a costume prepared so much, or like I think we had something, but I didn't like it and I felt kind of ugly. So I had like a bit of a mental anxiety breakdown, and I was just like, I can't go. Like I was crying. I was just like, I can't go. I can't put myself in a situation where I know certain people in my year, because I didn't like everyone in my year. There was a whole group of people that were very judgmental, and obviously this doesn't help with these kind of things when you know that there's people in your year that actively want the worst for you and want you to fail and are actively looking for flaws. So that obviously didn't help me. So then, yeah, like that part of my brain kind of took over, and I was just like, I just know if I go to uni today, not feeling my best, I just felt like people were going to judge me, and I didn't like it. And yes, obviously, like I agree, I definitely over exaggerated and like overreacted, but it's just the way my brain worked at the time. So that's kind of like the biggest thing. Like I've had it a few times, like things like that happening to me, but that was the one time where I really remember it getting in the way of me doing something. And I remember like kind of like reflecting on it afterwards, because my friend obviously did go to uni that day and I didn't go. And I just remember like spending the day just kind of like reflecting on how I felt in that moment and like what led me to that point. It was kind of crazy. But yeah. Ooh, if you had the option of redoing your life over, would you do anything differently? See, I'm not the kind of person that believes in like regrets, that kind of thing. Like I think everything does happen for a reason somewhat. But there's one thing that I actually do not regret, but I wish I'd just gone ahead and do it, because once again, it was just like me being in my own head. I think I was maybe 14 years old or something at the time. So like it was little old Brad, insecure of himself, believing that no woman would ever find him attractive, this whole thing, because that was something that was kind of distilled in me from a young age, being told that I was a fairy and whatnot, and I was different and not desirable. Anyway, there was an instance in my dancing like school, like where I went to learn dance. There was a girl that I really fancied at the time. This was obviously before that I'd come to terms with the fact that I was gay or whatever, or somewhat gay or bi or whatever. And I fancied this girl a lot. And it really truly was like me fancying her. Like I wasn't seeing her as just like a cover up. Like I really did fancy her. And I like obviously told myself there's no way she fancies me back. There's no way she'd find me attractive. So I'm not even gonna pursue anything. I'm not gonna ever tell her. And then she left. She left my dance school, and I found out many years later that my mum and her mum, I think, had a conversation, and it turned out that she actually did fancy me back. And that, like she also fancied me but didn't want to tell me. So I probably would go back and be like, Brad, just do it. Just tell her that you fancy her. Because who knows? Who knows how my life would have turned out then, you know? So I guess that would be one thing, because that's like something small and innocent and kind of insignificant. But in general, like big life choices and like decisions that I made, like I don't really think I'd change any of them, because I think they've all kind of made me into the person that I am today, you know? Because realistically, a thing that I would think about is like uni and like going to that specific uni and how that necessarily didn't fully benefit my mental health. But then part of me is like, you do have to face challenges in your life to become the person you want to be, you know? And I feel like I won't be who I am now if I hadn't gone to that uni, to that area, moved down to London on my own, been around all those people, you know, and like experienced all the bullshit that I did. Because it's all learning experience. Let's just do a few more. This is just a quick and easy one. What's something you dread doing? Taking down the rubbish. I fucking hate it. Hate it. Now, if you've lived in a apartment block, you'll know this. Obviously, there's like a little... Well, in my apartment block, there's like a little room where all the bins are. So you do have to obviously empty your own bins, take them down to the bin lobby or whatever the fuck. And I can't stand it, right? Because I do get a lot of packages. I am a consumer. I am a shopper. So I often do get a lot of cardboard and whatever. So obviously that's recyclable. And then just in general, yeah, I hate taking down the rubbish. I think it's the worst thing possible. That and unloading the dishwasher, I hate that too. If you could, would you rather spend a day with your younger self or your older self? I'd say probably my older self, just because I'd love to know what I look like old and like what I'm up to and like how life panned out, you know? But I think that's just from like a curiosity and like selfish standpoint. Like I think we all kind of want to know what life's going to have for us, you know? But I mean, regardless, I don't think I'd mind necessarily spending a day with my younger self, just so I could be like, look, chill out. It's all going to be good. Like, you might be feeling kind of shitty now, but you'll be all right. Life gets better, babes. You're going to be living the dream, living in a flat on your own and thriving. So chill out. Oh, this one's quite a surface level one, but I feel like we've had a few deep ones, so it's okay. This one says, what body part is your favourite on yourself and others? So on myself, I like my legs. I think in general, I've got pretty good legs. And I think part of this must come from me growing up as a dancer. I think dancers' legs is a thing. But at the same time, I do work hard on my legs. I do love leg day at the gym. Okay, and realistically, I've not danced for like over 6 months at this point. So I like my legs, right? I do like my legs. I'd say that's maybe my favourite body part. On other people, I love an arse. I'm an arse man. I am. I love a juicy bum. I also love a tit and an arm. I love a pectoral. I love a pectoral that sits on a shelf. And I love muscly arms. But that's more from a jealous standpoint. Like, I want those things for myself. Whereas, like, an arse, I just love an arse. But I mean, I've got a pretty decent ass myself, so that's not necessarily like a jealous thing. Like, I just think a bum on a man is so attractive. But yeah. Oh, guys, there's some more questions here that I've screenshotted that are really good, but I just don't feel like we need to get into them because this episode's been long enough as it is. So if you would like me to do a part 2 and answer more of these questions, because some of these are really juicy, but like, for example, this one, hi, have you ever had to cut someone out of your life? If so, how was that for you? That I could probably speak about for maybe 15 minutes and take you through the whole fucking scenario. So if you'd like to hear that story / do a part 2 of like these questions, let me know and I would happily do so because that would be juicy. But moving on, last couple of questions here. What are your goals for your channel in the next couple of years? Content change, question mark. To be honest, guys, I'm really content with everything that I've put out these days, because realistically, I probably would have been saying something different if I hadn't already made, like, for example, this second channel that you might be watching this on. Because I feel like the best thing for me and my mental state and like not getting burnout was creating this second channel, because it's given me so many new avenues to express myself in, like doing hauls and reviews and stuff, and this podcast and baking, and I'm going to be doing gaming stuff. Like, it's just meant that I can really diversify without it taking away from the main channel, because I still obviously take that seriously, and that's obviously my main priority. But it just means that I don't get bored of the content. So I don't see myself stopping reactions, because I absolutely love watching stuff and consuming stuff. So that's not going to change. And realistically, I just think I'm going to be just doing more and more stuff on the second channel. So I don't know if anything's going to change per se, but I just think I'm going to continue to do more things. And I mean, realistically, at this point in time, I'm kind of doing everything. Like, I've got a podcast, I've got a second channel doing crazy shit, I've got a main channel where I'm watching stuff, I have a podcast. I think I've already said podcast. I've got a website where I'm putting artwork up, and I'm putting like pieces out, like I'm doing clothing. Like, there's not much else for me to do, really. So all in all, I'm pretty content with everything I'm doing. And I think this is a good place for us to stop for today. I love doing these little question and answers, especially when it's something that I feel like I can properly delve into. Like, I don't love these surface level questions as much, like the typical ones that we all get. But for the podcast, I think this is really fun to have questions that you guys might have about just like life in general, not even me, but just like life in general that you kind of want to get my perspective on. And yeah, if you like these little question and answer things, I think sprinkling one of these in every so often would be kind of nice. So let me know if this works for you. Let me know if you have any other questions that I didn't hit on today. Give me a 5-star review if you want. Subscribe to the second channel if you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you guys soon next week for another episode. Goodbye, my queens.